Welcome back again, Coffee Beans. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell to stay updated. This is General Agriculture, Definition of Terms, Part 4.
Jack, a male donkey. Jenny, a female donkey. Juvenile stage is a term applied to a period in the early growth of plants, mainly biennials, when they are not susceptible to the influence of environment in the stimulation of reproductive development. Kernel-ear corn ratio of the weight of the corn kernel present in the ear corn to the weight of the ear corn. Kid, a young goat of either sex below 1 year of age. Kidding, it is the act of parturition of goat. Kinematic wave, a method of mathematical analysis of unsteady open channel flow in which the dynamic terms are omitted because they are small and assumed to be negligible. Knot, portion of a branch or limb which has been surrounded by subsequent growth of the wood of the trunk or other portions of the tree. As a knot appears on the sawed surface, it is merely a section of the entire knot, its shape depends upon the direction of the cut. Kosher meat is a meat from ruminant animals with split hooves where the animals have been slaughtered according to Jewish law. Krebs cycle is a cyclic series of chemical reactions through which pyruvate is oxidized to CO2 and H2O and ADP is produced. Lactation is the process of producing and secreting milk in order to nourish the young. Lake, any inland body of standing water, usually fresh water, larger than a pool or pond, a body of water filling a depression in the earth's surface. Lamb, a young sheep of any age, meat products of a sheep. Lambing, act of giving birth to a lamb. Same as parturition. Land, unplowed soil. Lappen, a rabbit's meat. Large animals, livestock animals that refers to cattle or carabao. Law of diminishing return is the economic principle which states that successive portions of quantities of variable factors of production is other factor of production which is fixed will result in diminishing marginal productivity, at least after some points. Laying or oviposition is the expulsion of egg outside of the reproductive tract in birds. Leach, to remove materials by solution. Leading is the process of directing and influencing the task-related activities of group members or an entire organization. Leafy vegetables are vegetables that yield succulent leaves. Legumes are vegetables that yield edible fresh pods. Lethal, deadly, causing death. Lethal dose, the amount of a toxic substance required to cause death of an organism under study in a given period. Luteinizing hormone is the hormone that causes ovulation of matured follicles. Libido, sex drive or the desire to mate on the part of the male. Life goals, desired cycles or hours to X% failure in a specific operating environment. Life safety, consideration of the preservation and safety of human life when designing buildings or structures that people could enter. Lift, the force exerted by moving air on asymmetrically shaped wind generator blades at right angles to the direction of relative movement. Ideally, wind generator blades should produce high lift and low drag. Light reaction is the reaction in photosynthesis in which light energy is required, the photoactivation or excitement of an electron in the chlorophyll molecule, electrotransfers of this electron and associated reactions. Light soil, obsolete, a soil which has a coarse texture and easily cultivated. Lignin, the component of wood responsible for its rigidity. Lime, refers to calcium oxide or quicklime, calcium carbonate, material applied to increase soil pH. Limestone, calcium carbonate. When crushed, it is a suitable base for livestock barn floors. Limit feeding, feeding method in which livestock are fed less than they would consume if given free access to feed. Linchpin, retaining pin used in the hitch pins or studs. Line breeding, refers to the breeding of related individuals, nephew and aunt, first cousin and so on. Lint, cotton fiber remaining after the seeds have been ginned out. Liquid feeding, feeding method in which livestock are fed less than they would consume if given free access to feed. Liquidity, is the readiness by which an asset can be converted into cash, the ability to pay debts as become due. Litter, a group of pigs in one farrowing. Litter index, average number of farrowings of 1 sow per year. Livestock, domestic animals kept for use on an agricultural operation and which are raised for sale and profit, including milk, meat, power, action, hobby, and recreation. Localized fertilizer is applied on a specific area near the seed or plant, either in bands, in rows, or by hole method. Lodging, a condition most frequently observed in cereals where plants bend at or near the soil surface and lie more or less flat on the ground. Logic function involves moving products from point of production to the point of purchase or consumption. Log normal distribution is used when there is skewness in the data distribution. Longevity refers to the length of life, usually of seeds or plants, of longer than average life. Long grain, palai, is a palai whose average length of the full-size brown rice grain is above 6.5 mm. Grain, milled rice, is a rice grain with 80% or more of whole milled rice grains having a length of 6.0 mm and above. Longitudinal, generally, the direction along the length of the grain of wood. A longitudinal section may be a plane either tangential or radial to growth rings. Longitudinal smoothing, land smoothing operation where all soil movement is done parallel to crop row direction for the purpose of obtaining a grade. Long run refers to a time period so long that all factors of production can be varied, i.e. there are no fixed costs anymore, all variable costs. Lot runoff, rainfall containing animal manure. Lucerne, alfalfa, a legume of high feeding value of ruminants. Lumen, in wood anatomy, the cell cavity. Macroelements are elements such as nitrogen that are needed in large amounts for plant growth. Nutritive elements needed in low quantities to ensure normal plant development: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, magnesium, calcium, iron. Macrominerals are minerals normally present at greater level in animal body or needed in relatively large amounts in the diet. Include calcium, phosphorus, sodium, chlorine, potassium, magnesium, sulfur. Macronutrient, a mineral required in relatively large amount for plant growth. Macropores, pores greater than 100 mm in diameter. Maggot, refers to the larvae of a fly. Maintenance, a condition in which the body is maintained without an increase or decrease in body weight and with no production or work being done. Management, is defined as the process of setting and achieving goals through the execution of the management functions that utilize human, financial, and material resources. Managers are people who are responsible for helping the organizations achieve their goals. ASAE, the management and effective control of the operation after installation. Mangrove, group of forest tree species growing along marsh or coastal areas. Manure, the fecal and urinary excretion of livestock and poultry. Marbling, the distribution of fat in muscular tissue, intramuscular fat. Mare, a mature female horse. Marginal cost, is the additional cost that a producer incurs in making one additional unit of output. Marginal land, refers to the grade of land whose productive capacity is only enough to recover its cost of production. Marginal product, an additional product realized from additional investment or expenditure of the business. Market animals, livestock that have reached the age and weight desired, livestock deemed ready for slaughter. Marketing allotments, provide each process producer of a particular commodity a specific limit on sales for the year, above which penalties would apply. Marketing management, is the planning, directing and controlling of the entire marketing activities of the farm, including the formation of marketing objectives, policies, programs, and strategies for product development. Marketing margin, refers to the difference between the price that consumers pay for the final production and the price received by the producers for the raw product, the difference between the price a buyer pays for a good or service and the price at which he sells that good or service. In general, equal to the cost of providing marketing services needed in a relatively competitive market. Markup pricing, the price is determined by adding some fixed percentage to the unit cost, most commonly found in the retail trades, groceries, furniture, clothing, jewelry, etc., where the retailer adds predetermined but different mark UPS to various goods he carries. Marsh, a type of wetland that does not accumulate appreciable peat deposits and is dominated by herbaceous vegetation. May be either fresh or salt water and tidal or non-tidal. Mastication refers to the chewing of food. Mastitis is the inflammation of the udder or mammary gland. Maternity pen for animals to give birth. Mature soil is a well-developed soil usually with clearly defined horizontation. Meat, edible part of the muscle of cattle, sheep, goats, or swine. Meat byproducts are edible byproducts from the slaughterhouse. Mechanical analysis is the separation and percentage evaluation of the different soil particles in the soil. The method most commonly used in particle size analysis is fractionation. Megaspore, the spore that germinates to form the female gametophyte, the end product of mitosis in the pistil. Meiosis is a process by which the germinal cells divide to produce haploid cells, each carrying only one half of the genetic complement of the individual. Melengestrol acetate, MGA, a feed additive that suppresses estrus in heifers and is widely used in the feedlot industry. Mellow soil is a soil that is easily worked or penetrated. Merchants are those who take physical possession and ownership of products sold. Message panel, area of a safety sign that contains the word messages that identify the hazard, indicate how to avoid the hazard, and advise of a probable consequence of not avoiding the hazard. Mesophyte is a plant that thrives under medium conditions of moisture and salt content of the soil. Metabolism is the combination of anabolic and catabolic reactions occurring in the body with the liberation of energy. Metabolism involves all the chemical reactions performed by the cells to use the basic units of the nutrients for their specific functions, example, glucose for energy or amino acids for protein synthesis. Metamorphic rocks are products of the reaction of very high temperature and pressure on sedimentary and igneous rocks. Metamorphism is the process whereby rocks undergo physical or chemical changes, or both, to achieve equilibrium with conditions other than those under which they were originally formed. Meats truss is the formation of corpus luteum, changes in vaginal wall and uterus. Methanogens, anaerobic bacteria that act upon organic materials and in the process, produce biogas. Metritis, an inflammation of the uterus. Microclimate, the climate of a very small region. Microelement refers to those elements that are essential for plant growth but are required only in very small amounts. Nutritive elements needed in small quantities for healthy plant development, trace elements, manganese, boron, chlorine, zinc, copper, molybdenum. Microfauna, small animals only visible with a microscope, including protozoa, nematodes, etc. Microflora, the small plants that can only be seen with a microscope. They include algae, fungi, bacteria, etc. Micronutrient is a mineral required in a relatively small amount for plant growth. Microorganism is a microscopic organism, example, a bacterium, virus, or fungus. Micropores, pores 5 to 30 mm in diameter.
Migrant farm worker, a person who travels across state or county boundaries to do agricultural work of a seasonal or other temporary nature, and who is required to be absent overnight from his or her permanent place of residence. Exceptions are immediate family members of an agricultural employer or a farm labor contractor, and temporary foreign workers. Migration is a process in which individuals from one population transfer to another population. Milking herd, that portion of a dairy herd which is milked regularly. Milo, a small drought-resistant grain sorghum with compact bearded heads of large yellow or whitish seeds. Minerals are naturally occurring elements or inorganic compounds in solid state, with definite chemical composition, unique crystalline structure, and certain physical properties. Mineral soil, a soil that is composed predominantly of mineral material of organic soil. Mineral streak, an olive to greenish black or brown discoloration of undetermined cause in hardwoods, particularly hard maples, commonly associated with birdbecks and other injuries, occur in streaks usually containing accumulations of mineral water. Mites, very small members of the arachnid which includes spiders, they occur in large numbers in many organic surface soils. Mitosis, cell division involving the formation and longitudinal splitting of the chromosomes. Model, assimilation, by descriptive, statistical, or other means, of a process or project that is difficult or impossible to observe directly. Modern variety, refers to the variety of rice and corn derived from recent genetic improvement or interbreeding of different varieties. Modified alfalfa valve, this valve is similar to an alfalfa valve except that the outside ring is omitted. Moisture-proof, impenetrable to moisture absorption or passage of water in any form. Moisture-resistive, relatively impermeable to water. Moisture equivalent, arbitrary soil water content used as an estimate for the field capacity of soils. It is the weight of water remaining in a soil sample after the soil has been saturated and subjected for 30 minutes to a centrifugal force 1000 times gravity. Mold, a fungus growth on lumber taking place mainly at or near the surface and, therefore, not typically resulting in deep discolorations. They are usually ash green to deep green in color, although black is common. Moldy grains, are grains or pieces of grains which are contaminated with molds. Molt, molting, the shedding and replacing of feathers, usually in the fall. Monogastric, having only one stomach or only one compartment in the stomach. Examples are swine and poultry. Mongrel, animals of mixed or unknown breeding. Monocotyledon, a plant having one cotyledon in its seed, as in the grasses. Monostress, an animal which has one testicle in the scrotum. Also called a ridgeling. Monomer, simple unpolymerized form of chemical compound. Muck, highly decomposed organic wet soil. Mulch, a layer of plant residues or other materials placed on the surface of the soil to conserve soil moisture. Mulching, is the process of covering the land surface with plant residues, plastic or other materials appropriate to arrest loss of moisture through evaporation. Mule, the hybrid that is produced by mating a male donkey with a female horse. Mules are usually sterile. Multi-digester plant, plant with series of digester. Multinational corporation, is a corporation operating in more than one country. Multiple cropping, growing of more than one crop in the same place in one year. Multiple ovulation, is a process by which the female animal is induced to simultaneously ovulate more eggs than what is normally shed. Mutation, is a spontaneous change in the biochemical structure of the gene resulting in an entirely different phenotypic effect. Mutton, meat products of a sheep, 1 year or over. Nanny, mature female goat. Necessary nutrient, the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, potassium, boron, manganese, copper, zinc, molybdenum, chlorine, cobalt, silicon and fluorine. These must be taken up and utilized in sufficient quantities for plants to complete their life cycles. Also known as essential elements. Necrosis, discoloration, dehydration and death of plant parts. Nematode, microscopic soil worm, which may attack root or other structures of plants and cause extensive damage. Nervous system, controls the rapid activities of the body such as muscular contraction, secretion of some endocrine glands, heart rate, respiration rate, gastrointestinal motility, to mention a few. Net, the value received for a service or product, less all expenses except income taxes. Net farm income, the money and non-money income from operators realize from farming as a return for labor, investment, and management after production expenses have been paid. Neutral soil, a soil neither acid nor alkaline with a pH of about 7.0 or between 6.6 and 7.3. Neutron probe, type of probe used to monitor soil moisture conditions to help determine when water should be applied. Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, NADP, a hydrogen acceptor molecule. Nicking refers to the breeding of progeny that are superior to their parents, also called heterosis. Nighttime, the period that starts a half hour before sunset and ends a half hour after sunrise. Nipple waterer, demand waterer stock which has a valve that is actuated by the animal's mouth. Hope it helps. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the next part. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, like this video and comment your suggestion on topic you want to hear. Bye. Roar.